Thank you very much for having me. Every drop counts. I think everyone knows that. We associate that with water. I'm the founder of Acticell, and for us this has also a second meaning, because there was a drop which changed our company significantly, and I would like to take you to a journey and explain how it evolved and what we made out of some student work and how to get into the industry. First of all, let me show you what inspired us at university. Was this? It's maybe not what you think of. At university we were focused more on the bra than on the content. And at the bra there was this embroidery. And I was working at the Textile Institute in Austria. And one company was producing embroidery, and they asked us, can you help us to make this more sustainable? And I don't know if you know how embroideries are made, but you have a textile ground, a textile fabric, which could be cotton, for example, and you stick the embroidery on this textile ground to give it the shape. The polyester yarn gets a shape, and then you have to remove the textile ground again. And this was done with sulfuric acid, and that's what they didn't want to do. And they asked us if we can do that with enzymes. And yeah, we said, yeah, well, let's try. We know a little bit of cellulose chemistry. We know how this works with the enzymes. So let's start the project. And I'm really sorry I have to go on. I need to do a little bit of some science with you. That's a really hard cut. I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look on cellulose. What I would like to continue here. Cellulose is built up as a linear molecule from glucose units. And these glucose units, or these linear units, they form fibers. And these fibers, they have a structure where there are some oriented parts, some crystalline part, where these long chains are associated very near to each other, and they have some parts, where they are not so strong together, where there is some space. And in this space here, if you swell the cotton fiber, if you put it into water, then you can attach some chemicals. That's what we are doing, for example, in the textile industry when we do dyeing or other processes. If you go a little bit deeper, and if you start to make these oriented regions, or to change the oriented regions, then it would be, for example, mercerization, and you start to change the structure of cellulose, and you give it a different property permanently. And if you then go on, you would start to dissolve cellulose. That's, for example, then a lyocell fiber, or a viscose fiber, or a modal fiber, or what Renewcell is doing. By the way, congratulations. During my PhD, I was dissolving cellulose, and cotton was really hard to dissolve. So if you manage that, that's really great. So, and yeah, so coming back to our topic, what we wanted to do is we couldn't change the enzymes to degrade the cellulose, but we are cellulose chemists, so we were thinking how to change the structure of cellulose that the enzymes can really start and dig and dissolve this cellulose and make it to an environmentally friendly process. And we figured out we needed to be somewhere in the middle of these two areas. So not really mercerizing, this was not necessary, but we needed to change the structure a little bit. And then we got successful with this project, the company, or we could show in the company that this works. But we were searching for new markets. And we knew about the denim industry quite well, because my former professor was a dyeing specialist there. And the idea was, let's try that on denim, because we knew that the denim industry is using enzymes to fade down the indigo, to fade down the garments. And then what we did is we took this formulation of chemicals, what we had, and we printed it on some fabric, and then we did an enzyme wash. And that was the result. So we could change the structure of cellulose in some parts of the garment or of the fabric, and tell the enzymes in the washing machine where to really work on the garment. And if we have a look to the microscopic image, I hope you can see that. On the left side, this was treated with the chemical, and you see the wash down, the color fading is much bigger. Halle was there at this time. And yeah, this was quite amazing for us because it worked from the first minute, the first trial. And yeah, then there was the second thing what we knew. We knew about the problem of permanganate in the denim industry. And we know that this chemical is a beautiful bleaching chemical that is really cheap, that is performing very well. But the drawback is that it's toxic for the workers and it releases heavy metals to the wastewater. And last year, the European Chemical Agency reclassified the potassium permanganate, and they said that it is a reprotoxic substance. They said it may be harmful for the unborn child. So you definitely don't want to spray this chemical by humans onto the garments. So yeah, so we had a solution and we had a problem, and then it was quite clear for me to found the company. And yeah, in 2014 we started. We founded the company Acticell. It is a spin-off of the University of Innsbruck in Austria, and we are specialized in cellulose chemistry. And we modify the structure, and yeah, we want to achieve some different effects. And the first product what we have is for cellulose bleaching or for jeans bleaching. Yeah, and then when we started, this was our first garment what we made. That was a very nice proof of concept. At this time, the chemical was environmentally friendly, but the pH was quite alkaline, so we didn't want workers to work with that. And we said, okay, we know this will work, but let's reformulate the chemicals. And then we had a neutral enzyme booster, how we called it. That was a formulation with a pH of 7, so it was completely safe to use. But I think you can see we are not sure if it was really bleaching or not, or if it was just the scraping what gives this effect. So, and then we said, okay, if it is modifying the structure, then it must be also visible, or must be visible with other chemicals. Other chemicals need to be influenced with that, not only the enzymes. And we tried dyeing. And yeah, we just painted this formulation onto this small piece of fabric. We dried it, we washed it away, and then we dyed it. And we saw, okay, something definitely was happening with the structure of cellulose, because the dye stuff uptake was also higher. We tried it again with sulfur. So the top one was untreated, the lower one was treated with the chemical. So we saw, okay, this is working, but it looks like, unfortunately, that this formulation doesn't work with the enzymes anymore. So the pore structure was in a way that the enzymes couldn't do. So that's a pity, we thought. But then I was working together with a small company in Austria. They were producing tailor-made jeans. And you see, we were working in a kitchen there at this time. And yeah, that was really, we were not in the garage, but in the kitchen. And yeah, this was Charlie. And 1 week after we did some trials, when they were not so successful, Charlie called me up and said, Christian, maybe this chemical doesn't work so much for what we intended to do, but there was one drop from this liquid on another garment which I wanted to sell, and the garment is ruined because this drop was bleaching. And the customer doesn't want it anymore. I said, sorry, but thanks for the information, so we know something is going on. And yeah, eventually we found by mistake, we did some literature search, of course, we found by mistake the right conditions for this chemical to be able to bleach indigo, the dyestuff of the jeans. Yeah, and this drop changed our angle and changed the company completely. And yeah, then it took some time, of course, but yeah, we found the solution. We developed some bleaching agents. Now they are in market. We have also a customer sitting here. It works, but what we were thinking is this chemical, you have to spray it and then you have to heat it to develop the effect. So this means we need to add an extra step. We need to add some costs, and the denim industry is a very cost-sensitive business. This is what we all know. So we were searching for something new to eliminate a cost uptake, and that's why we focused on new technologies to create some cost-neutral processes with clean chemistry. And then we were thinking about the laser technology. The laser technology is really emerging in the market. Almost every laundry is constantly buying new lasers and replacing men work. And at this time, there was no chemistry or no chemical formulation which would work together with the lasers. And yeah, then we redesigned this product, what we had, and we made it to work together with the laser. And then it looks like this. So we apply the chemical before. We let the laser run. The laser is developing the chemical. The laser is not hitting the garment anymore and evaporating the indigo. The laser is just there to start the chemical reaction. And by this, we are bleaching. And the idea was to replace potassium permanganate with it. Yeah, we did some collections with that. The garments, they look quite nice. The garments, they look like they should do. And what we also found is that because we have a chemical reaction and not this burning anymore, you can tune down the laser energy and let the laser run faster. So we can increase the output, and with increasing the output, you can also decrease the costs. So it was possible to make a cost-neutral process, and our chemical formulation is fully green screened. We got a very, very high score for the formulation, and yeah, it is really safe to be used. And now from the kitchen to the global distribution, these are the countries where you can buy our products, not only the laser booster. We have some customers where we sell directly, but most of the formulations or most of the goods are sold through distributors under their own name. And here is some example of one of our distributors who did some continuous laser experiments, so not on the garment but on the fabric, to treat the fabric with the chemical, laser it, and then, yeah, a nice example. And the future should be a laser-ready fabric, that you don't apply the chemical in the laundry, you apply the chemical on the fabric, and this fabric should be stable for 6 months in the shelf, and then the customer is just using it. The customer, in case the customer is the laundry, will not realize that something is different, but the customer will be able to just use the laser better and more efficient. And I hope you can see that on the picture. Here we have a normal lasered piece, and This piece is treated with Acticell, but lasered 6 months after the application. And the aim was not to make the laser effect more powerful, the aim was to make the laser effect more natural, that you don't recognize anymore that this is lasered, that it looks hand-sanded and that you get this natural fading look. I hope you can see that on the picture. Yeah, the natural cast should be. And what will come after that? Of course, we were also working with some other machinery. We were thinking about ozone because chlorine, I think, will be the next which will be on the list. And of course, ozone gas is very toxic, but if you have it in the closed machine and you can control it very well, then it is very beautiful because what is left is just water. And we created a chemical which is not permanently, but for some time, modifying the structure of cellulose. Ozone can go deeper, and these samples, they were treated with 15 to 20 minutes in the ozone machine, and we consider that as a true waterless technology because they were washed only once, and this was after the ozone treatment. And if you have the size, so you need to use some warm water, but you could even do it with cold water, and without detergent, it would all wash away, and it looks like that. With this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Yeah, we have time for some questions if you want to ask anything to Christian. Yeah, okay.
So you say it's... Oh, sorry. Hi. So you say it's cost neutral, I said somewhere in the presentation, right? So does that mean that a fabric finished at a mill has the same price as a fabric without that finish? Because also in a financing cost, if you have to leave the fabric there for 6 months, all the interest rate, if you put that on top of it. So what is the price difference per meter if you treat it with your chemical?
With the fabrics, we are not that far. So with the fabrics, we are at this stage of testing how long does it work. But we know in the laundry that if you also take into account the costs of lasering and the laser time, and also if you take into account that you change the process, that when the lots of the garments go in on Monday and they leave on Thursday normally, they could leave 1 day earlier. So you save laser time, but you also save time in the laundry and you increase the capacity. So that's what we mean with cost neutral.
Thank you, Tony. Any more questions?
Miguel?
No? Yep. Oh, Martin. Okay.
Hello. Quick question. Does your chemical need to be washed after? Like, does it have to be washed off the garment? So you couldn't just use it, laser, and then straight to the store? Because some people like to keep things raw. So.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That will not work with any chemical.
So you definitely have to still pre-wash it or rinse it afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
Right. So, there's one more question over there. Oh, James, yeah. He's coming that way.
Hi, good morning. Technical question. You mentioned that when you have this amazing chemical on the fabric and you laser it, the laser is not actually burning in as it would now traditionally be, but it starts the chemical process of bleaching, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I understood correctly. My question is then, does that work only for indigo dyed fabrics, or could you also have other dyed fabrics, maybe like a traditional twill, which is, I don't know, like garment dyed or reactive dyed?
Yeah. The chemical was designed for indigo, purely for indigo, but we saw that there are other dye stuffs which also react. We need to do the screening first. I just know that there are some pigments, for example, which work quite well. Here we need to evaluate and to define the range for the customers and tell them if you use this dye stuff, if you use this dye stuff, then it will work.
So, but primarily the current stuff is intended for dyeing, for bleaching or burning into indigo dyed fabric only, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, that was... Oh, Tony, no problem.
So we're talking about cotton, right? We also talked about recycling and lyocell and other kind of fabrics which are more circular. Does it only work on virgin cotton, or does it also work on mixes of virgin with organic or recycled cotton or upcycled cotton? So on what kind of fabrics does it work?
On every cellulose type. So every cotton, lyocell, modal, viscose. Yeah. For viscose I would say you need to be careful with the laser because the energy is quite high. I hear that lyocell works quite well with the laser, so yeah, it is it's independent of the cotton source or the cellulose source.